Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to episode 10 of Fucked If I Know, the podcast. It has been a hot minute since I've been on here, and truth be told, I have been feeling like a little uninspired coconut for the last few weeks, and I just didn't really have the energy to record a podcast, to be completely honest. And I think it's really important to practice what you preach. And for me, whenever I have friends that feel like they're in a slump or feel a little uninspired or uncreative, the worst thing that they can do is push into it and try and create something that is of nothing. So I decided to take my own advice this week or these last couple of weeks and just wait for inspiration to hit. And I have been away for the last week on a little adventure with my partner to Manchester and York, and it has been the reset that I have really fucking needed. I was barely on my phone that week. I was barely on the stories, not sharing on the gram, not making TikToks, none of that business. I really just enjoyed being in the moment and being present, and it was such a solid reset for me, and I fucking loved it. So today's podcast is all about creative block, and when we're feeling uninspired and feel like we don't know what to fucking do, and we feel like we kind of have to, but we don't know how to get through it. So I want to start by acknowledging that when you are in a creative funk, the first thing that you can do is literally acknowledge it, is admit, yeah, I'm in a fucking slump and this is shit. And this could be a creative funk or just like a funk in general, but for the most part, we're talking about creativity today. And even if you think you're not a creative person, you fucking are. And the reason that you may be in a slump is because you don't think that you're creative. But humans were born with creativity in our fucking veins. And at some point along the way, a teacher told us that our writing wasn't good enough, or that our painting was shit, or that we didn't have any rhythm and we couldn't dance or whatever. Somebody at some point has maybe told you that the thing that you love doing creatively, you are not good at, and you have lived with that story for the rest of your fucking life. So maybe that's a little light bulb moment for you a minute into this podcast, that we are all creative people. We all have the ability to be creative, but at some point in time, our creativity was probably shut on by somebody, an authority figure or someone whose opinion you valued a lot, and we have then titled ourselves as non-creative. So really, this podcast is for everyone who is in a creative funk, because we are all creative beings. So as I said, the first thing that we need to do when we are in a funk or have a creative block is to acknowledge that we are in it. We cannot force ourselves through this. You cannot paddle up shit creek without a paddle, or you can't even really paddle up it anyway because it's shit creek. So what you want to do first is just acknowledge that you are in a creative funk and kind of just let it go. The more you stew on the fact that you're feeling blocked and uninspired, the worse it's going to get, particularly if you're trying to do work for somebody. You have to create an artwork or write something or do something for somebody else. That's a huge creative blocker and massively stifling. So you do need to take a little step back from it and focus on something else, and just acknowledge that you're feeling a little bit rubbish. The sooner that you acknowledge that you're feeling shit, the quicker you'll actually move through it. It is called emotion for a reason, which is energy in motion, like emotion. So when we process through our energy of feeling really shit, we process through the emotion a lot quicker rather than sitting in it and being stagnant, or just actually blatantly ignoring it and saying that it's not a fucking thing. It's the worst thing that you can do. Acknowledge that you are in a funk and just go, all right, fuck it. I'm in a funk. What am I going to do now? Binge watch The Office for 3 days. Fine, if that's what I need to fucking do. And if you really tune into your intuition, she or he will tell you what it is that it wants you to do. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I can't fucking take this photo, I can't write this story, or I can't do whatever it is, I'm stuck. Tune into your intuition and say, what do you want? What do you need from me? Because often they will chime up and say, hey, I just need to binge watch The Office for a couple of days. Or, hey, I'd really love to just get out and go for a walk in nature. Or, hey, I just really want to tend to the plants today. And it's usually something really, really easy to do. It's nothing out of this, nothing outrageous. It's really, really straightforward. And once we do it, we can start to actually process through those blocks a lot quicker because we're not focusing on them so much. We've changed our energy. We've channeled it into something that is bringing us joy, something that our intuition wants us to do, something that our body wants us to do. And we're able to process through shit creek a lot fucking quicker. So step 1, acknowledge that you're in a funk, and then kind of step 2 or step 1.5, what the fuck, 1.5 is ask your intuition what it is you need to help you move through this energy. What does it want you to do right in this moment? Now, step 2, say you have acknowledged it. You're like, cool, Gabby, I've acknowledged it. I realize I'm in a funk. I've spoken to intuition. It wants me to do this. What do I do now? Well, first of all, you either do what intuition asked you to do, which is probably go and do something different, something creative. But if it hasn't told you that, then I'm going to be your intuition right now and say, hey, how about we go and try something just a little bit different? I don't know whether that was sexual, but I hope you liked it. So what I want you to do is try something completely different to whatever it is that you create. So if you are a photographer, go and try writing or finger painting or bookbinding. If you are a painter, go and try working with pottery or clay or go to a dance class. I want you to do something that is so fucking different to whatever your creative process is or whatever your day job is, something completely different and completely strange, and just give it a go. On my stories on Instagram a few weeks ago, I did this little practice from a book called The Artist's Way, which I can recommend highly to anyone who's wanting to unlock their creativity. And I asked a bunch of random fucking questions to help people tune into what their creativity wants. So I'm going to do that with you now, actually. I'm just going to pull this off the top of my head. Wasn't written down in my podcast notes to do this, but I'm trusting my intuition. So I want you to listen to the things I'm about to ask you and just respond out loud with the first 3 things that pop into your head when I ask you these questions. Are you ready? Don't overthink it. Don't question the weird things that your brain has to say. Just trust it. Okay, let's go. What are your favorite 3 colors? What are your 3 favorite snacks? What are your 3 favorite animals? What are your 3 favorite times of day? What are your 3 favorite celebrations? What are your 3 favorite books or series? Who are 3 of your favorite actors? What 3 types of clothing are your favorite? Who are 3 people you love to spend time with? What are 3 things you'd love to tick off your bucket list? What are 3 really weird things, no judgment, that you'd like to give a try? What are your 3 favorite flowers? What are your 3 favorite games? What are 3 creative hobbies that you'd love to just give a try? What are 3 activities that you'd love to give a try? What are 3 favorite job titles that you'd love to give just for one go? Give for one day, sorry, not one go. 3 favorite job titles you'd love to give a go for one day. Now, hopefully they have inspired your brain and your subconscious to open up a little bit to some more possibilities. Maybe you said some really fucking strange things. Maybe there was like cross-country skiing, or maybe zorbing, or maybe it was embroidery, pottery, fucking essential oils, not actually fucking essential oils, you know what I mean. Maybe it's getting into plants or gardening or cooking. It could be a variety of things, but whatever it is, even if it was a tiny little random, tiny niggle that you were like, that's kind of interesting and I want to give it a try, I'd really encourage you to go and give it a try. There could be all kinds of strange things in there that you didn't even see or didn't even anticipate that you'd like to do, but it's just a really great starting point to going and trying something new to help you get out of that creative funk. That book that I mentioned is The Artist's Way, and also another book that's amazing for unleashing your creativity is Big Magic by Liz Gilbert. She also wrote Eat, Pray, Love. I've read Big Magic twice, and every time I've read it twice, but I feel like every time I speak to somebody who's read it, everyone pulls out something different from this book, and it's absolutely incredible. So I'll pop that in the show notes as well, but I'd really recommend that you guys get those 2 books if you are feeling like you're in a creative rut or you feel like you don't have any creativity at all. These are a great place to start. Now, the third tip that I would give for you if you're in a creative rut is if you are doing something creative and you have found a way to monetize it, or you have found a way to turn it into a job, then you need to find a way to find the passion in it again. So I'll give you an example. I was at the brink of quitting photography in August last year because I just felt like I wasn't a good photographer anymore. I felt like I wasn't producing work that I loved. Like, yes, I was doing a good job for my weddings and my clients and everything, and I loved it, but I'd see these new up and coming photographers and really get really hard on myself and think, fuck, my photos aren't as good as that. But it was brought to my attention by my loving partner that I hadn't taken any photos just for me in over a year. So I hadn't created just for myself in over a year. So I decided to take a whole month off in August of no paid client work and only focus on my creativity. And let me fucking tell you, did that reinvigorate my love for photography? I couldn't believe how much I'd been missing out on in my passion by not shooting just for myself. And this is a good problem to have, is that you're booked up so much or you're working so much for other people that you don't have time for yourself. And that's like a good problem to have, right? Because you've got money, you're booked up, you're busy. But it can be such a drainer on your creativity and such a drainer on the passion that you have for a subject that it can literally burn you out and you never want to fucking do it again. So if you are in an industry, a creative industry, and you monetize what you do, then you need to find a way to find the passion in your job again. So you need to shoot for yourself, to write for yourself, to draw for yourself, whatever it is that you do, if you monetize it or you're trying to monetize it, make sure there's an element of that is purely for you. It has no purpose, nothing for anybody else except for you. And that's really, really fucking important. And if you're a type A personality, you will try and turn your creative hobbies into projects. And I have literally done this. So I found cross-stitching a year and a half ago, and I fucking love cross-stitching. Like, oh my God, I absolutely adore it. Makes me really happy. So then I decided to cross-stitch one of my partner's artworks. And I don't know if you've seen his art, but he is a fucking insane 3D illustrator. And I decided for his birthday, I was going to cross-stitch one of his artworks. And this project has turned out to be like my life's fucking work, because I'm still doing it almost a year later, and I've literally turned it into work. So I love doing it, and I can't wait to see the final project, but it doesn't feel like a release for me. It doesn't feel like a creative, like... it just doesn't feel like a release. And when I do it, I feel like I'm working because it's a project for a purpose, not just because I want to do it. So then I bought a knitting kit. Decided to make myself a beanie, and I was like, fuck it. And I loved that. It made me so happy. I love the feeling of the texture of the wool on my hands. I love sitting down to actually just create for myself. So what did I then do? I bought 2 kits so I could make family members blankets. Again, turned it into a project. So every time I sit down to do my creative crafts right now, I actually feel like I'm working, and I don't feel like I'm stepping out of work mode. So I've had to buy cross-stitching kit that is literally just for me and it's not for that project, and knitting kit that is again just for me and not for anybody else, just so that I feel like I'm doing things for myself. So it's such a creative cock blocker to monetize something or turn it into a project for somebody else. So you may be doing all of the creative things and being like, why am I not getting that feeling from it anymore? And it's likely because you're giving it a purpose rather than just creating for creating's sake. So even if you've turned something else, like cross-stitch or knitting, into something that you feel like you have to do all the time, then again, do something different. Get into baking, get into floristry, get into pottery, whatever it is, drawing, doodling on a page, or writing, or whatever you feel like makes you feel really good. And just start to focus your attention on that as well, so that you do start to fall into that space of creativity. And it's such a funny energy, creativity, because we all have it, but it's sometimes so hard to tap into. And I guess that's why this podcast is here for you guys today. And it can be really, really frustrating. But just remember that everyone has it within themselves to be creative, but you just have to identify where you're getting stuck, or where you're getting blocked in your creativity as well. And the last thing that I would recommend to you is to take a course or a class. So this is one of the best ways to get some consistency with your creativity and to block out time and space in your calendar to be creative. Because if you're the kind of person, again, type A, who likes to be doing all the things all the fucking time, you're going to find reasons why you can't sit down and just fuck around and be creative. You will find a fucking way. So you need to schedule it into your calendar. And the best way to do this is by taking a course or a class that you go to each week, so that you've got it in the calendar. It's put in there. It's a thing that you must go to, and you'll actually find that you'll commit to it because it's scheduled in. So I'm definitely this kind of person. I have to schedule into my calendar to remind myself to speak French and to practice violin. Otherwise, I just won't do it. So it's really important for me to do that. So maybe you're that kind of person as well. Perhaps you don't put the time aside to be creative, so you need to schedule it as a priority in your calendar as well. So taking a course or a class is a great way to unlock that creativity. And again, particularly in an area of something that you're not doing already, I'd really recommend that. Like if you are a photographer, go and do a cooking class, or go and do a dance class, or just something really radically different to what it is you are already doing. Or alternatively, if you don't want to go fully radical into another area, then you can try a different medium within the creativity that you enjoy. So if you are a photographer, perhaps you could get into film photography. Something that I really enjoyed when I was back in Sydney during the lockdown last year was instead of shooting on DSLR, was finding my mum's old film camera and just shooting film for a little while. Even just getting a Polaroid camera, and that's the camera I take around with me to activities now. So I never take my camera out when I'm out with friends, but I take my Polaroid fucking everywhere. And I just love I get the photography kick, but without the expectation of it being a good photo, because I don't have my big ass camera with me. If you're an artist as well, say you're a watercolor artist, maybe you'd be more, wanting to try oil painting instead, or finger painting, or just something same within your medium and within your professional, your creative thing, and just going down a different route with it to try some different things with it. So that is it. That is it. My words are a bit jumbled. It's been a while since I've podcasted, guys, but there are 4.5 tips for you if you are getting stuck with your creativity and you're feeling blocked right now. I hope that helps you get moving. Please let me know if you implemented any of these, or if any of the you've given any of the ideas a try. Shoot me a message on Instagram, because I love to hear from you. Thank you so much for sharing my podcast and your stories. I'm so fucking grateful. And just a heads up as well, just a little FYI, that I'm currently undergoing doing a rebrand, which is really exciting. So the whole Ambedo brand is getting a massive refresh, and I can't wait to share that with you guys very soon. Meaning as well that Ambedo Photography, my photography course, is getting a huge facelift as well for when we kick off again in around August. I think we're going to be doing the next round. So if you are interested in taking a course in photography, I am your gal, and you can find out all about Ambedo Academy at ambedoacademy.com. I would love to teach you how to take beautiful photos, and I can't wait to share the rebrand with you, and I can't wait to share the new look for the podcast. Even though it's brand new, we're just getting this really huge cohesive rebrand, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. But for now, have a lovely day, night, week, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to chat to you guys again soon.